After months in a wheelchair, I could walk again but kept pretending. What I caught my family doing behind my back made me move out without warning. Hello dear ones. Please subscribe, comment a quick hi, and tell us where you're watching from. Now let's continue this journey together. The physical therapist's words hit me like lightning. Sandra, you can walk again. 6 months after the car accident that shattered my spine, feeling returned to my legs during that Tuesday morning session. I was 32 years old, and I'd spent half a year watching my life crumble from a wheelchair while my family took care of me. I should have been ecstatic. Instead, something made me hesitate. Don't tell anyone yet, I whispered to Dr. Richardson. She looked confused but nodded. Maybe it was the way my mother had sighed that morning when helping me to the bathroom, or how my sister Jasmine had rolled her eyes when I asked for water. Something felt off. That evening, I sat in my wheelchair in the living room of the house I'd bought 3 years ago. The house I'd worked 70-hour weeks as a corporate lawyer to afford. My younger brother Antonio walked past without acknowledging me, thumbing through his phone. My mother was in the kitchen and I could hear her on the phone. Girl, I don't know how much longer I can do this. She's so needy. My stomach twisted. I'd heard the frustration before, but I'd attributed it to caregiver fatigue. Now, with the secret of my mobility burning in my chest, I wondered what else I'd been missing. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I would keep pretending. I would watch and listen. I would see who my family really was when they thought I couldn't escape. If you've ever felt invisible in your own home, you know that sinking feeling in your gut. I was about to discover mine was justified. 3 days into my secret, I started noticing everything. The whispered conversations that stopped when I wheeled into rooms. The way Jasmine's designer bags multiplied weekly. How Antonio always had cash for new sneakers and nights out with friends. My mother's fresh manicure every Thursday, her new jewelry that definitely wasn't costume. Sandra, baby, we need to talk about money, Mama said Friday evening, sitting across from me with that concerned expression I'd once found comforting. Your medical bills are piling up. We might need to dip into your savings account to cover household expenses. I'd already given her access months ago, trusting her completely. How much do we need? I asked, keeping my voice weak and compliant. Maybe 15,000 for now. Just to catch up on everything. She patted my hand. Don't you worry about the details. I'm handling everything for you. $15,000. I nodded slowly, watching her face. There was something in her eyes I'd never noticed before. A flicker of satisfaction, maybe even greed. That night, I used my laptop to check my accounts for the first time in weeks. What I found made my blood run cold. $68,000 gone. Not to medical bills. Those were covered by my insurance and settlement from the accident. Gone to cash withdrawals, transfers, shopping sprees. I scrolled through months of transactions with shaking hands. Designer stores, restaurants, cash apps to Antonio and Jasmine. My family had been systematically draining my accounts while I sat helpless in this wheelchair. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow. These were the people who claimed to love me. I became an actress overnight. Each morning, I let Mama help me dress, biting back the rage as she complained about her aching back. I smiled weakly when Jasmine brought me lukewarm soup, pretending not to notice her $300 manicure while she claimed she was sacrificing everything to care for me. You're so lucky to have us, Jasmine said one afternoon, scrolling through Instagram on my couch. Most people would have dumped you in a nursing home by now. You know how expensive those places are. Like $6,000 a month. I wanted to scream that I was paying for everything. The mortgage, the utilities, the groceries they devoured, the lifestyle they were living off my dime. Instead I said softly, I know. I'm so grateful. That word tasted like poison. Grateful. For being robbed by my own blood. Antonio brought his girlfriend over that weekend, a sweet girl named Keisha who actually treated me like a human being. Miss Sandra, can I get you anything? She asked, genuinely kind. I watched Antonio pull her aside later, heard him whisper, don't get too attached. Once her settlement money runs out, we won't need to keep up this act much longer. My heart shattered into smaller pieces. The settlement. They knew about the $1.2 million I'd received from the trucking company whose driver had destroyed my life. Money meant to secure my future, help with ongoing medical care, give me stability. They were circling it like vultures. That night I began planning. If they wanted to play games, I'd show them what a corporate lawyer could do. I started recording everything. My phone, hidden in my wheelchair bag, captured conversations I was never meant to hear. The evidence was damning and soul-crushing. When's she getting the rest of that settlement? Antonio asked Mama in the kitchen one morning. I sat perfectly still in the hallway, holding my breath. Her lawyer said the final payment comes through next month. 1.8 million more, Mama replied, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Then we can really live. Maybe I'll finally take that trip to Hawaii. God knows I've earned it dealing with her miserable ass. Does she suspect anything? That was Jasmine's voice now, joining them. Mama laughed, actually laughed. Please. Sandra's always been the naive one. Too trusting. Too soft. She still thinks we love her. The words cut deeper than the accident ever had. The physical pain was nothing compared to this emotional evisceration. These were the people who'd held me as a baby, celebrated my graduation, cried at my law school acceptance. Now they spoke about me like I was a cash machine with inconvenient feelings attached. What happens when the money runs out? Antonio asked. There was a pause. Then Mama said something that made my blood freeze. We'll figure that out when we get there. Maybe she'll have another accident. A bad fall. These things happen to people in wheelchairs. My hands gripped the wheelchair arms so hard my knuckles went white. Were they actually discussing killing me? Or just letting me deteriorate through neglect? Either way, I was in danger. That's when I knew I had to disappear, and soon. Monday morning, I asked Mama to take me to my lawyer's office for settlement paperwork. She jumped at the opportunity, probably seeing dollar signs. What she didn't know was that I'd called ahead, using the voice-activated features on my phone to arrange everything. My attorney, Gloria Martinez, had been my mentor since my first year practicing law. She was 60, sharp as a razor, and when I wheeled into her office, her eyes narrowed immediately. She'd known me too long. Thank you for bringing her, Gloria told Mama with professional courtesy. This will take about 2 hours. Sandra needs to review documents privately, attorney-client privilege. There's an excellent cafe down the street if you'd like to wait there. Mama's smile was tight, but she left. The second the door closed, I stood up from the wheelchair. Gloria gasped, and I broke down, telling her everything through tears. She listened, her expression growing darker with each revelation. I've been practicing law for 35 years, Gloria said slowly when I finished, and this is one of the most despicable cases of financial exploitation I've encountered. Family or not, what they're doing is elder abuse, well, vulnerable adult abuse. It's criminal. I don't want to press charges, I said quickly. I just want out. I want them out of my life, and I want to protect what's left of my money. Gloria nodded, already taking notes. Here's what we're going to do. First, we're freezing all your accounts today. New accounts they can't access. Second, we're documenting everything. Third, we're getting you somewhere safe before they realize what's happening. They mentioned the final settlement payment, I whispered. Gloria's face went pale. Sandra, there is no final payment. You received everything 6 months ago. I stared at Gloria, not comprehending. What do you mean there's no final payment? Mama said. They've been lying to you, Gloria interrupted gently. The total settlement was 1.2 million, paid in full last March. There's nothing else coming. She pulled up records on her computer. Full disbursement minus legal fees and medical liens. You received $947,000 net. My mind reeled. For 6 months they'd been dangling a fake payout to keep me compliant, to keep draining what I actually had. How much was left? Gloria pulled up the real-time balance on my newly secured account after transferring everything. $211,000. In 6 months they'd burned through over $700,000. My hands trembled. How did they spend that much? Gloria showed me the statements. Antonio had bought a car, a $50,000 BMW I'd never seen because he parked it at a friend's place. Jasmine had taken 4 shopping trips to New York, stayed at 5-star hotels, purchased designer everything. Mama had paid off her house, bought new furniture, and yes, booked that Hawaii trip for next month. They'd even paid off Antonio's gambling debts, 30,000 to various creditors. They've been living like lottery winners on your trauma, Gloria said, disgusted. And when you recovered enough to notice they planned to, what did you say they said? That I might have another accident. The words caught in my throat. Gloria's expression turned fierce. We're getting you out today. Right now. I've already called a friend who runs a private care facility. Well, it's not really a facility. It's a transitional house for people escaping domestic situations. You'll stay there while we sort everything legally. We worked quickly. Gloria had an investigator, a former cop named Jerome, meet us within the hour. He was a tall black man with kind eyes who listened to my recordings without flinching, though his jaw tightened with each damning word. This is textbook financial exploitation with conspiracy elements, Jerome said. And that comment about another accident? That's a threat. We need to take this seriously. They laid out the plan. Jerome would go to my house that evening with a moving crew while my family was out. Mama had mentioned taking Jasmine shopping and Antonio was always gone by 6. We'd pack my essential belongings, my important documents, everything I needed. I'd leave the wheelchair in the living room like a shed skin, symbolic and devastating. What do I tell them? I asked. When they realize I'm gone? Nothing, Gloria said firmly. You owe them nothing. No explanation, no goodbye, no closure. They lost that right when they started stealing from you. We'll send a cease and desist letter from my office. If they attempt contact, it'll be documented harassment. But I wanted something more. I wanted them to know. I spent the next hour writing a letter, pouring 6 months of betrayal onto paper. Gloria advised against it, but this I needed. They'd made me feel crazy, dependent, worthless. They'd stolen my money and my dignity. They'd plot my potential harm. I needed them to know I'd heard everything. Just remember, Jerome said as we prepared to leave, once you do this, there's no going back. Are you ready to cut these people out completely? I thought about Mama's laugh when she called me naive. Antonio's casual cruelty. Jasmine's fake concern hiding real contempt. They cut themselves out, I said. I'm just making it official. At 7 p.m. I stood in my own house for the first time in 6 months. Actually stood, on legs that shook partly from disuse and partly from adrenaline. The movers worked efficiently, packing my clothes, my law books, my photos, only the ones of me alone or with friends. I left every family picture on the walls like accusations. Jerome had done a sweep. They'd installed cameras in my bedroom. To monitor you, he said grimly, showing me the tiny devices. But also, I suspect, to make sure you weren't hiding money or assets. We left those intact. Let them watch the empty room and understand what they'd lost. I placed my letter on the kitchen table held down by my house keys. The keys to the house I'd bought, that I was surrendering because I couldn't bear to live where I'd been betrayed so thoroughly. Around it I left printouts, bank statements highlighted in yellow showing every fraudulent transaction, transcripts of the recordings, copies of the police report Jerome had filed for financial exploitation. The letter began, I can walk. I've been able to walk for 2 weeks. I kept pretending because something told me to wait and watch. Thank you for showing me exactly who you are. I detailed everything, every lie, every theft, every cruel word I'd heard when they thought I was helpless. I ended with, you didn't just steal my money. You stole the last bit of love I had for you. The worst part, you made me feel grateful while you did it. Don't look for me. Don't call me. Don't pretend you ever cared. We're done. As we loaded the last box, my phone rang. Mama. Probably wondering where I was, when I'd need to be picked up from Gloria's office. I didn't answer. I turned off my phone and rode in silence to the transitional house. A beautiful Victorian in a quiet neighborhood that didn't look anything like an escape shelter. The director, a woman named Patricia who'd survived her own family trauma, welcomed me without judgment. You'll be safe here, Patricia said, showing me to a sunny room on the 2nd floor. Take time to heal, physically and emotionally. We have therapists on staff, support groups, legal resources. This is your space for as long as you need. That night, I lay in an unfamiliar bed and let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing. I sobbed until my ribs ached, grieving not for who my family was but for who I'd believed them to be. The mother who'd sung me lullabies had discussed me like an inconvenience. The siblings I'd protected and supported had seen me as a personal ATM. The family I'd loved unconditionally had loved me only conditionally, on the condition that I remained useful. My old phone, which I'd left on the table with my letter, started ringing at 9:30. I knew because Jerome had set up monitoring, for my protection to document harassment. It rang 47 times that night. Texts flooded in, escalating from confused to angry to manipulative. Mama, baby, where are you? We're worried sick. Jasmine, Sandra, this isn't funny. Call us now. Antonio, you're making a huge mistake. You need us. Then around midnight the tone changed. Mama, how dare you accuse us of stealing? After everything we sacrificed for you. Jasmine, you're an ungrateful bitch. We should have put you in a home. Antonio, you were nothing before that accident gave you a payout. Remember that. Gloria had been right. No remorse, just rage at being caught. Physical therapy became my sanctuary. 3 times a week I worked with Dr. Richardson, relearning balance and strength. My legs remembered walking, but 6 months of pretending had taken a real toll. I didn't mind. Each step forward was literal and metaphorical, moving away from who I'd been toward who I needed to become. You're making remarkable progress, Dr. Richardson said during week 3. But Sandra, I have to ask, are you eating? Sleeping? You've lost weight. I had. Stress and heartbreak weren't conducive to self-care. I was trying. The transitional house had a communal kitchen and I'd started cooking again, something I'd loved before the accident. Other residents would join me and slowly I began forming a new family. One built on mutual respect and chosen connection, not blood obligation. There was Denise, escaping an abusive marriage. Carlos, whose gambling addiction had cost him everything until he got clean. Lynn, whose adult children had financially exploited her after her husband died. We were all rebuilding, all learning that family was supposed to protect you, not prey on you. My old family's harassment escalated. They'd found my new number somehow, probably called the law firm pretending to be me. More texts, more voicemails. Jasmine showed up at Gloria's office, demanding to know where I was, screaming that I'd abandoned them. Security escorted her out. She filed a missing persons report, claiming I was mentally unstable and vulnerable. Jerome handled it, showing police the evidence of exploitation and my statement that I'd left voluntarily. They're desperate, Gloria explained. That settlement money is gone. They were living beyond their means, expecting more to come. Now reality's hitting and they're spiraling. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt empty and infinitely sad. 2 months after I left, Mama showed up at the transitional house. I don't know how she found me. Maybe she hired someone, maybe she'd been watching Gloria's office. Patricia called me downstairs, her expression apologetic. You don't have to see her. I can have her removed. But I needed this. I needed to look her in the eye and see if there was any remorse, any recognition of what she'd done. I walked downstairs on my own 2 feet, and when Mama saw me standing, she gasped. Sandra, baby, you can walk. Why didn't you tell us? We could have celebrated. Stop. My voice was steady cold. I know everything. I heard everything. Don't insult me by pretending now. Her face crumbled, but I couldn't tell if it was genuine emotion or performance. We were going to pay you back. We just borrowed. You stole $700,000 from me while I was injured and vulnerable. You talked about me having another accident. You called me naive and miserable. You made me feel like a burden while you were robbing me blind. My hands clenched. You were my mother. How could you? I raised you, she shouted, and there it was. The entitlement, the rage. I fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head for 18 years. You owed me. That money should have been for all of us, for the family. I didn't owe you my trauma settlement. I didn't owe you my future security. And I definitely didn't owe you the right to steal from me and laugh about it behind my back. Mama's expression hardened. You'll regret this. Blood is blood, Sandra. You'll come crawling back when you realize you're all alone. I'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who see me as a paycheck, I said quietly. Gloria moved forward with civil action. We weren't pressing criminal charges. I couldn't bring myself to put my mother in jail no matter what she'd done, but we demanded restitution. The case was straightforward. Clear evidence of theft, exploitation of a vulnerable adult, and conspiracy. They couldn't pay back what they'd stolen. Antonio's BMW got repossessed when he couldn't make payments. Jasmine had to sell her designer collection at a fraction of what she'd paid. Mama's house, which she'd paid off with my money, ended up with a lien against it. The Hawaii trip was cancelled, forfeited. They're claiming hardship, Gloria told me during one of our meetings, asking the judge for mercy, saying they didn't understand what they were doing was illegal. But they did understand, I said, thinking of those recordings. They knew exactly what they were doing. They just didn't think they'd get caught. The judge agreed. In a blistering ruling, she ordered them to pay restitution of $500,000. Less than they'd taken but more than they could possibly gather. She set up a payment plan that would haunt them for decades, garnishing wages, intercepting tax returns, following them like karma with a legal degree. You could have destroyed them completely, Gloria said afterward. Criminal charges would have meant jail time. I know. I stared out her office window at the city below. But I'm not trying to destroy them. I'm just trying to protect myself and get some of my money back. What they did to our relationship, that destruction is on them. 3 months post-escape, I started looking for my own apartment. Something small, manageable, mine. I was walking without assistance now, stronger every day. I'd started doing contract legal work from home, rebuilding my career slowly. 6 months later, I sat in my new apartment. A cozy one-bedroom with hardwood floors and windows that faced east, catching the sunrise, and reflected on everything I'd lost and gained. The family that raised me was gone, replaced by ghosts who wore familiar faces but had hearts I'd never truly known. The money they'd stolen would trickle back over years, but the emotional cost could never be repaid. I'd gained something too though. Strength I didn't know I possessed. The ability to walk away from toxicity, even when it wore the mask of love. A chosen family at the transitional house. People who understood betrayal and survival. Self-respect that didn't depend on making others comfortable or pretending to be weaker than I was. Sometimes late at night I wondered if they understood what they'd lost. Not the money, the relationship. Did Mama ever think about the daughter who'd once called her for advice on everything? Did Jasmine remember the sister who'd paid her college tuition? Did Antonio recall the big sister who'd bailed him out countless times before the accident? Probably not. People who could do what they did weren't capable of that kind of reflection. They justified it somehow, made themselves victims in a story where they were clearly villains. I'd learned that family didn't mean unconditional love. Sometimes it meant conditional exploitation depending on what you could offer. My therapist asked if I had regrets. Only one. That I'd ever doubted my instincts that morning with Dr. Richardson. My gut had known something was wrong before my brain caught up. From now on, I'd listen to that inner voice, the one that whispered warnings when people showed me who they really were. I didn't get my fairy tale ending. I got something better. My freedom, my future, and the knowledge that I was stronger than my worst moments. Standing up from that wheelchair, both literally and metaphorically, saved my life. If this story resonated with you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more true stories about family, betrayal, and survival. Share your own experiences in the comments. You're not alone. And remember, sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away even when it breaks your heart. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. What would you have done in my situation? Let me know below.